Now let us try to develop an image magnifier using jQueryUI's draggable element. You might have already seen image magnifiers, especially in e-commerce websites. Usually a small image of the product will be displayed, and when you move the mouse over or when you drag some lens, the image will be magnified so that you can see the product details more clearly. So this is the image magnifier we are going to develop, and as you drag the square shape, you could see that portion as magnified. So now this is a selected portion and you could see that the flowers are looking bigger and clearer, right? If I again move this towards the right hand side, see, this part is now looking magnified. So this is the kind of image magnifier we are going to develop using jQueryUI's draggable element. So let's see how we can develop an image magnifier like this using jQueryUI from scratch. To write the code, I have already saved a web page and added the title like image magnifier and also added reference to the latest jQuery and jQueryUI files. So we first need to add the reference to jQuery file before adding reference to jQueryUI. So I have added reference to the latest jQuery file online. It is now 3.4.0 version. Then also added reference to jQueryUI's CSS file and also JS file here. Now we need to have two sections, right? One is to select the required portion and the other is to display the magnified section. So let me have two div elements, div with ID small image wrapper. You can name it as you want, okay? And within this I need to first have the image and also a div element which we can make a draggable element later. So let me first add an image, img src equals. I have already saved some images and I'm going to use beautiful1.jpg as of now. So this image and also this file, that is image magnifier.html, both lie in the same folder. So I have added the image within this small image wrapper, that is the div element. Next I also want to have a div element which will be used as the magnifier or the draggable element to select the required portion. So let me have another div element with ID magnifier. So the first section is ready. We need to style this. We will do it later. Next we need to have another div which will display the magnified image. That is, this div element contains the image from which we will select the portion using this magnifier div, which will be a draggable element. And then we also need to have another div within which we will display the magnified image. So let me just make it as small wrapper because the name is too big. And for this, let me specify it as large wrapper. So div ID equals large wrapper. You can name it as you want, okay? Now within this also we need to have the same image, right? So let me copy this and paste it here, and let me also add an ID for this. Let me specify it as magnified image. Now let me try to see the output. The image is actually too big, so we will see two big images of the same thing. See, now this is how the web page is looking like. We are seeing two images, that is one below the other, because we haven't styled them. The images are too big, that is why they are displayed like this. Next, let us style these div elements and images a bit so that they will be displayed one next to the other with small size. Okay, so let us add the style section within the head. So style, and first let me access this div element with ID small wrapper. So hash small wrapper, and for this let me set a width of say 400 px, height of 400 px. Then as this is a parent element and these two elements are within this, we are going to style them to be displayed within this div itself. Let me set the position of this to be relative so that we can specify the position of the child elements to be absolute. Okay, Then let me set a margin of 20 px to have some gap, and also specify float to be left so that this div and the large wrapper div will display one next to the other, not one below the other. Next, let me style this beautiful one.jpg, that is the img. So how I can access it? I can specify hash small wrapper img, and for this as well I am specifying the same width and height, that is 400 px, and height as 400 px itself. That is the height and width of the parent itself. Okay. Next, for this div, let me specify the width and height to be 200 px. That is half of the parent's height and width. So let me access it. It is hash magnifier. You can name it as lens or any other name. Okay. And let me set a width of 200 px, then height of 200 px, then let me specify a border of 1 px solid, say white. Okay. And the magnifier or the draggable should be displayed at the top initially. So let me specify position to be absolute and top to be 0 px. Next, let us try to style this large wrapper. So let me access it again, hash large wrapper. So for this as well, let me set the width and height to be the same as the small wrapper. Here I don't want the margin to be 30, it should be 20. So let me specify width and height. Width to be 400 px, height to be 400 px. Then let me set a border of 1 px solid black. Then float to be left, and also margin to be 20 px. Now let me save this and show you. This is the first one, that is a small wrapper, and this is the draggable element. We haven't made it draggable, just we are able to see that. And this is the large image. Actually, what we are going to do, for this selected portion, we will display the zoomed image within this. So as of now, the whole image is displayed. So what we can do, here we can specify overflow to be hidden so that the overflown part will not be displayed. Let me save this and show you. See, we are just seeing this portion now. Though the complete image is here, we are only seeing this much because we have set overflow to be hidden. For this magnifier element, instead of having solid border, let me specify it as dotted border. That is for the magnifier, dotted. And let me also increase its thickness to 2 px. Now let me save this and show you. See, now it is displayed as a square having dotted border. Now we are ready with the front end, right? Next, what we need to do, we need to make this square, that is a small square, as a draggable element. And as it moves, we need to display that portion in bigger size.